All right, welcome back today. At the top of your notes page, please write down the 4.1 unit rates. Please write down the essential question. How do you use and find unit rates? That's our goal today. Well, in order to do that, we have to know what they mean. So, write these vocab words down. Remember to pause the video if you need to. Rate is a ratio that compares two quantities measured in different units. So, an example of a rate is just a fraction with labels. So, what's one that we know? Something like miles per hour. So, most places in town, the speed is 30 miles per hour. So, that's a rate. And more specifically, this one is a unit rate. Why is it a unit rate? A unit rate is a rate in which the second quantity in the comparison is 1 unit. So it is a 1 on the bottom. That's a unit rate, and that's our goal today, is to turn all of these problems into unit rates. They might not start as unit rates. So we have to convert them to unit rates. Well, how do you convert to unit rate? I'm going to write this down. How do you convert to a unit rate? Question mark. You divide. Write that nice and big. You divide. So you're going to be doing a lot of dividing today. Make sure you have your calculators ready to go. All right. So let's go try our first problem. Jeff hikes a half of a mile every 15 minutes, or a quarter of an hour. Those are the same thing. 15 minutes is a quarter of an hour. Lisa hikes 1/3 of a mile every 10 minutes, or 1/6 of an hour. So 1/6 means the same as 10 minutes, because there's 6 tens in an hour. How far do they each hike in 1 hour? How far do they each hike in 2 hours? So let's go find that. So we know that, let's start with Jeff. Okay. Jeff hikes 1/4 hour, a half a mile. So how far will he go in this half hour, or this quarter of an hour? He'll go a half a mile. And then how far in this one? He'll also go a half mile. And this one, he'll go a half a mile. So let's go try to find our total. So if we take these two right here, these first two, what is 1/2 plus 1/2? That makes 1. Okay. What about, let's see if I can make these little italics. There we go. How about this one? 1/2 and 1/2, that makes 1. So we can do the italics again. Yep, 1 and 1 makes 2 total miles in 1 hour. So this is all over 1 hour. So this whole entire 1 hour, he goes 2 total miles. He goes a half mile each quarter. All right. Let's continue this problem. So let's complete this table. So we said after a quarter, he goes a half. So after another quarter, now he's gone a total of, or the time is half an hour. So let's go back and look at the table. So after a half of the time, half an hour, how far had he gone? We said he had gone 1 mile. So what if we had another quarter? Well, if we go back to that table and look, scroll down, there we go. Okay, a half plus a half plus a half is what? Where are we getting to here? How far has he gone? Half plus a half plus a half is 1. And then you add another half, 1.5. So he has gone 1.5 miles. And we said after 1 hour, he had gone a total of 2 miles. So if we doubled that, so if we said for 1 hour he goes 2 miles, for 2 hours how far would he go? Well, we double. we'll go 4 miles. All right, if we think back to Lisa, we said that Lisa goes, I'm going to go back to that problem again, scroll down, I know I'm jumping back and forth. She goes 1/3 of a mile for every 1/6 hour. So let's go put that in. This is 1/3. So if that's 1/3, the next one should be 1/3. And the next one should be 1/3. And 1/3. And 1/3. And 1/3. Okay. Well, how far is that? Well, 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3. That is how far? That's 1 total mile. So that must mean that these 3 1/3, 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3 equals 3/3, which is 1 total mile. So 1 plus 1 is a total of 2 miles. So after 1 hour, she goes 2 miles. All right. So let's go fill this out. So for 1/6 of an hour, she goes 1/3, we said. I know it's hard to read. This one is adding on another one. So how far has she gone? 2/3. Because 1/3 plus 1/3 is 2/3. After halfway, we said half of the time she has gone 1 mile. And for a total of a whole hour all the way across this total box, she had gone 2 miles. Now if we double that, just like we did up above, that would be 4. So skip this question and let's go around. Which hiker walks farther in 1 hour? Which is faster? Well, they are the exact same. So they're reaching the same distance over the same amount of time. All right, let's try the next problem. While remodeling her kitchen, Angela is repainting. She estimates that she paints 55 square feet every half hour. How many square feet does she paint per hour? So we want to change this rate. So we have this rate. We want to change it to a unit rate. And remember, a unit rate has a 1 on the bottom. How do we change it? We divide. We talked about that on the last problem. All right, so what's her rate right now? She says she estimates that she can paint 55 square feet per every half hour. So there's a problem here. We don't have a 1 on the bottom. We need the 1 on the bottom to be a unit rate. So how do we change it to a unit rate? We divide. We said that. We are going to divide the two. So get those calculators out. But before I divide, I'm going to go label because you need labels. We're looking for how many feet per 1 hour. And I'll have that answer once I divide. So get the calculator out. 55 divided by 1/2 is 110 feet per hour. That's my answer. So she would estimate that she could paint about 110 feet per hour, square feet per hour. I should square this. It says square feet per hour. All right, remember to pause the video if you need to. Writing every problem down, please. Let's go to the next one. Paige mows 1/6 of an acre in 1/4 of an hour. How many acres does Paige mow per hour? So let's go write that down. Kind of like we wrote the last one. So we're going to go from a rate to a unit rate. So right now we know that she's mowing 1/6 of an acre per 1/4 hour. Well, that doesn't have a 1 on the bottom. So we have to convert it over to be a unit rate by doing what? By dividing. Well, let's write our labels because they are very important. How much acres per 1 hour? All right. How do we get that? Well, we divide 1/6 divided by 1/4, and you should get 2/3 acres per hour. And that's your answer. They would mow 2/3 acres per hour. Page would. All right. Try this next one on your own if you can. Hopefully you pause the video. Hopefully you're done. Okay. Greta uses 3 ounces of pasta to make 3/4 of a serving of pasta. How many ounces of pasta are there per serving? So let's write what we know. We know that there are 3 ounces per 3/4 of a serving. Well, that's the problem. We don't have a 1 on the bottom, and we need a 1. How do we get a 1? Hopefully you said divide. Lots of dividing today. Okay, before I start though, I'm going to write my labels. I know I have ounces, and I know I'm going to want a 1 on the bottom, and my label is serving. For 1 serving. How many ounces per serving? Well, take your calculator out if you haven't. Divide 3 divided by 3/4, and you should get 4 ounces per serving. All right. Next one, we have a comparison of 2 pools. They are both leaking. After 15 minutes, pool A has leaked 2/3 of a gallon. After 20 minutes, pool B has leaked 3/4 of a gallon. Which pool is leaking faster? This is a problem. We can't have pools leaking. I have a pool, and that would not be fun to have your pool leaking. You'd have to get everything fixed. All right, well, let's go compare pool A versus pool B, and I'm going to write it down here just for spacing. What do we know about pool A? Pool A says we have leaked 2/3 of a gallon per 15 minutes. I always put time on the bottom. Notice on a couple problems ago we had hours on the bottom. I always put time on bottom. So 2/3 of a gallon per 15 minutes. So we want to know, how do we get this to be gallons per what? 1 minute. We want the 1 on the bottom. So right now 15 is there. We don't want 15. You have to divide. So 2/3 divided by 15 gives you 2/45 of a gallon. Now, 2/45 of a gallon is not that much fun, and I'm going to tell you why in a little bit. But let's go first to pool B. Pool B says that we have leaked 3/4 of a gallon per 20 minutes. Okay, well, we have to convert that to be a unit rate, which means we want gallons per, we need a 1 on the bottom per 1 minute. How do we do that? We divide 3/4 divided by 20. Do that on your calculator. You should get 3/80. Not a nice number either, like the last one. Why aren't these nice? Well, we need to compare which one is leaking faster. Okay, we can't tell that without a common denominator. So the easiest way to change these is to change them to a decimal. And how do you change 2/45 to a decimal? Well, there's a little button on your calculator with arrows that are right above the equal sign. And if you type in 2/45 and you click that button, it should work. Or you have to just divide 2 divided by 45. You should get 0.04 repeating 4. And then I'm going to label gallons per 1 minute. Same thing down here. Take 3/80, hit that little arrow button that's right above the equal sign on your calculator. The little 2 arrows pointing away from each other. Or if you just want to divide on your calculator, 3 divided by 80 should give you a decimal. And that decimal is 0.0375 gallons per 1 minute. So it's leaking really slow. Still leaking, not a good problem to have. Now, which one is leaking faster? So we're looking for the bigger number. Well, they both start with a 0. They both have a decimal. They both have a 0. Which is bigger, the 3 or the 4? Yep, the 4. So pool A is leaking faster. All right, reminder, to convert rates to unit rates, you are going to divide. Lots of dividing today. Best of luck. Send me a message if you have questions.